forestry perspective and a plantation point of view, what do you see some of the key sort of challenges and needs at the moment with sort of the remote sensing and IoT GPS kind of space with the space technologies? And yeah, how do you think they're going to have an impact on cost of production and your productivity as an industry?
Yeah, can you just hear me? Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, so basically, I guess a couple of our main challenges are just relating to in-house staff skill levels, I guess, and ability to actually devote time to actually input into developing some of this technology. So that's the first thing that actually straight off the bat, we don't have spare capacity, right? We don't have spare capacity to be, fiddling about with, ArcGIS online and trying to build models ourselves and that sort of stuff. And the other challenge, I guess, that space sort of imagery needs to overcome, I guess, is achieve stuff that we can't already get through near Earth imagery. So at the moment, we try and describe our forestry crops very accurately using high density LiDAR. And so it's about finding the gaps. So where I feel space technologies can really help is really in the geolocation. So I'll give an example. We prune trees at age 10. We won't go back to harvest them until age 40 or 45. And so we need to be able to map where those pruned trees are, and we would do that through near Earth remote sensing, but being able to navigate back to that exact tree and have that locational accuracy, and when the harvester grabs it, it knows that it was pruned 30 years ago. So that's a real challenge for us to try and come up with a solution there. We need better geolocation on consumer devices for navigating through difficult terrain, especially because we have canopy cover, but also just navigating to a tree which your remote sensing has said, oh, this tree is half dead, and actually knowing that you're actually standing at that tree without having to use expensive technology. In terms of...
Sorry, that you said at the start, Lee, was really that piece around the skills. So I think obviously we're talking about the technologies here today, but that's a really important thing for everyone to keep in mind from the perspective of the producer and the end user. Is that in some circumstances, in most circumstances from an industry point of view, you're actually after a turnkey solution. You want something that's built, fit for purpose, ready to go. And it needs to be able to operate in a way that works for you. And I think the other one as well that you just touched on there, which I think Rowan kind of talked about in the first lot of presentations, was interoperability between data and platforms, where here you're talking about overlaying a remote sensing layer through LiDAR or whatever it might be with a GPS or GNSS type situation. So how do we retain that metadata? How can you link that forward? So as you said, if you've got these long time periods between when you're making intervention and coming back, how do you make sure that data is in the system to make it easier for you?
Exactly, and relating all those different data sets together in a platform. Exactly, turnkey, it has to be turnkey to some extent, but it also has to be open source in some ways, so that so it needs to also, all these different CRCs and these projects that delivered, we don't have capacity to drive these or fund these ourselves individually. We need to go through, at a national level, a coordinated approach through the Forest and Wood Products Association. So that's actually really important to sort of collaborate with that and guide it that way, rather than individual producers trying to, interact with these sorts of groups, because we also have fatigue from all these space tech conferences. You're not the first. Look, I just wanted to touch on, obviously the other big thing is with remote sensing is satellite revisit frequency. At 50 centimeters or less would be very useful for us. So the cost is prohibitive for that sort of stuff for a lot of smaller forest owners. So unless you are a big multinational that can negotiate with Planet, you won't get that sort of stuff. So in a fire situation, being able to have 50 centimetre imagery at the end of the day, on the same day that the fire started, would be very useful, perhaps with some thermal capacity. Those sorts of things would be really good. So frequency and cost of satellite imagery and increased resolution, of course.
Yeah, fantastic. I think the other one you touched on there is something Jen was probably be really interested from an AgriFutures point of view, is not only do you as a group of producers and foresters need to collectively go to your RDC to kind of get economies of scale in terms of your investment, there's also that opportunity, which I hope today will help to identify some areas as well, where across RDCs, where there are common challenges, we need to be co-investing to make sure there is that economy of scale as well from those programs of work. So I know Royal R&D for Profit and stuff that Roland talked about from a technology IT connectivity point of view was one of those examples where all the RDCs were in it together and co-invested. And I think that's a key thing as well, where we need to find these common areas of challenges and then be able to address those collectively to get those cost efficiencies.
Absolutely, because, yeah, we're already doing lots of stuff, so we need alignment there.